So microphone's right here. Um, it's not the highest quality microphone, so we might have to speak up a little bit louder. But so I kind of gave you a brief explanation already. So this game's Overwatch. It came out about summer of 2016, um, and it actually won Game of the Year for 2016. The company that made it, Blizzard Games, they're also the creator of big games like World of Warcraft. I don't know if you ever heard of that, or and League of Legends. It's also a very big competitive game. Um, so this game is kind of a crossover between your MOBAs, which you have a whole bunch of different characters and have different abilities, and those abilities and characters mesh with each other very well, whereas other characters don't mesh with each other very well. Big example of that is League of Legends. So that's kind of the idea that Blizzard had, is they want to take this League of Legends idea and bring it into a first-person shooter game to give you that real-time perspective, add a little bit more to the skill cap in terms of movement abilities and aiming, and overall, their big idea was to make a big competitive 6v6 game. And in the competitive scene, this game has done very well in terms of esports. It was made for esports. Right now, there's a league. The first season just wrapped up of the Overwatch League, in which there are 8 different teams for different cities that they competed throughout 4 stages, and then they had a final playoffs. And so the London Spitfire actually beat the Philadelphia Fusions in the playoffs to win the championship for this past season. So it's a very fast-growing esports game. Blizzard has really put a lot into it. Their main idea was to make it an esports game, but they also have a single-player competitive mode where you can solo queue and get placed with different players of your same rank to try and improve. So that's what I'm currently doing in this game right here. I'm in a solo queue game, playing competitive, and this game mode is a lot different from like other game modes because your rank actually does affect on how well you win or lose. So you have more of an incentive for teamwork. So the reason why I picked this game is because I'm playing with players that are actually above my ability in terms of rank, and I'm playing against players actually above my ability in terms of rank. So the communication in this game, in terms of teamwork and being able to help out your teammates in certain situations, was actually above average for the types of games I normally played, and I really enjoyed that aspect of this game. So,
so you have 6 characters on your squad, and you're playing against 6 characters. How many characters can you actually choose from to come up with, which characters are advantageous against which characters?
So at the time of this game, there were 28 characters. The 29th character actually just got released about a week and a half ago.
Okay.
So each team is comprised of, you have your tank players. I'm playing the role of main tank, so I'm the one that's trying to hold the front line, trying to make sure that their team can't get into our back line.
Okay.
And then you have the DPS players, which means DPS stands for damage per second, and those are the ones that are trying to put damage in to kill their backline support heroes, or help out your tank players when needed to give them a little bit less pressure taken off of them. And then you have your support heroes, which is kind of your backline heroes that they're the ones doing all the healing, and they're the ones that have different types of abilities to kind of swing the team fight in different directions with different abilities. So for this first 2 fights, I believe, I'm playing a character called Orisa, and she has a shield, a projectile shield that she'll throw down on the ground, She has an ability that allows her to not be knocked around by other abilities, and she takes less damage for about 4 seconds. She has an ability that can pull the enemies back and can kind of clump them together for your damage dealers to do a bunch of damage at one time. And her ultimate amps up damage to your whole team for a duration of time.
Okay.
The other two characters on this team that we should be looking at is, if you'll see second from the right, we have Diva. That's going to be my off-tank character. Your main tank and off-tank are very important in terms of how they mesh together. They have to have good communications together. They kind of have to rotate together, because if your main tank is one place and your off-tank is the other place, the enemy team can take advantage of that and either kill you or kill them, or walk right past you and kill your backline. So you kind of have to be in good communications with your off-tank player if you're playing main tank, and with your main tank player if you're playing off-tank, vice versa. And then the last character that is kind of in our win condition is third character from the right. It's Anna. That is our healer. She does a bunch of healing by her gun heals her teammates. So when she shoots you, you get healed. Then when she shoots the enemy, they take damage. And then she has a grenade that makes the whole enemy team, whoever she hits with that nade, they can't take damage for a certain amount of time. So that's a very important ability for her to be able to hit that. And then she also has a sleep dart that if she hits that on an enemy player, they fall asleep and they're immobile for, I think, 4 seconds. So it allows us to take advantage, saying they're down an enemy player for 4 seconds, this is our time to engage. So we'll start it up. So the map that we're playing is Hollywood. We're on a fence to start. This is why I want Arissa, because they have Hollywood. It's called a hybrid map. So the very first push, there's a blue box that you'll see right here, and they have to stand on this box and get control percentage. And they only gain control percentage if they're standing on the box and we're not. So right now I'm just messing around with the McCree, trying to make some laughs, trying to make him comfortable with me. You know, so I listen to his calls, he listens to mine. So to start up here, we're gonna hold the high ground, and the enemy team's gonna be coming through that choke, which makes Arissa really good for this point, because I can just shoot down that choke, give them a bunch of damage, and by the time that they get in, they're down a bunch of resources that we might be able to capitalize on. So now I'm going to drop down.
So are they the aggressors at this point?
Yep, so they're the attacking team right now. So our diva actually made a mistake right there by going in. She died. So we're going to have to play kind of a defensive. So right here, I should have rotated to the left on this fight. So if I had rotated back there, it would have allowed our team to regroup in time for our diva to come back. Because so our diva died, first character to die in the fight. She was out of position. She dropped down over to the right. We all dropped down to the left. She got
okay. And you're on headsets, communication, so
right.
So was it something that she didn't hear properly?
Yep, it was just a miscommunication between us. So it was kind of that first push, we never played together, kind of miscommunication. So when I saw that though, I backed up over to the back right. I should have backed up to the back left, because that's where our spawn is coming from. Maybe buy a little bit of time for our diva to come back, and then when she gets back, then we go in and fight. But instead, I was kind of just caught in the middle of the fight, and they were able to put crossfire on me, and the whole fight just collapsed, and we didn't get anything done. So at this point, we call it a lost fight. We say, everybody, let's regroup. Let's try to take them in the second point of the game. So in the hybrid map, so after they get the first point, they have to escort a payload through a series of 2 checkpoints. So now that's what their stage is now. So this is called the streets phase, where they have to escort a payload from the first checkpoint through the streets phase, and it's going to be about 2 or 3 fights per phase, and then if they cap it with time left, then it's our turn, and we have to try to beat that time. So right here, what I did right there is I used my ultimate, which amped up a bunch of power. So I don't know why it didn't stop it. So somebody on our team actually called, "Is that bongo necessary?" And I just used my ultimate. So ultimates are the most powerful things in the game. Those are the ones that kind of swing the team fights. Now, I used my ultimate because I was going to switch off the character anyway. So whenever you switch off a character, your ult resets back to 0. So I didn't care about wasting my ultimate at all. I kind of just wanted to go to Reinhardt because Orisa got countered pretty hard. So now I'm on Reinhardt. He's probably the most powerful main tank in the game right now. And the Reinhardt v Reinhardt battle is very it's like a chess match. Alright, so I'll explain through his abilities real quick. So first thing is he has a melee hammer attack, does 75 damage per hit. And then he has a fire strike which does 150 damage. So being able to do a melee into a fire strike combo is a bunch of damage. It can usually one burst down their supports if you're close enough, or their DPS heroes. But the main thing that he is a shield. So he has a big blue shield that blocks 2,000 incoming damage from the enemy team. So holding that shield up means that your backline can't get shot, all your other teammates can't get shot, but the main thing with a Reinhardt v Reinhardt battle is the battle of ultimates. So Reinhardt's ultimate is a hammer down stun. So when he hits that, their whole enemy team gets stunned to the ground for about 5 seconds. Which allows your team to go in and clean up the fight. And usually if you pick off about 1 or 2 characters, then it's a 6v4, you kind of win the fight and you're able to steamroll them through and clean everything up.
Okay, so then as you explained this, the first 2 fights that we saw, the other team was more of the aggressors, and you said they had to also try to escort.
So now they're escorting the payload.
Okay.
So even though they're on what's called attack, they're actually playing it as the defenders of the payload as they try to escort it through the streets phase.
Okay.
So
how far into the streets phase can they go from point A to point B before it's like, okay, we had a successful defense, we got the payload to where it's supposed to be?
So it's all about the there's 2 different checkpoints through streets phase. So if you'll see, it's kind of blurry right now, but the top right you'll see kind of a red bar going across. There's a checkpoint coming up, so they're about 3/4 of the way through right now on the first checkpoint. The checkpoint is, if you see the car to the right, it's up and around the corner, and you'll go to the checkpoint. And then the yellow dot that's at the end of that blue bar, that's the final checkpoint. If they get it there, the round's done, and then we switch sides.
Okay.
So the reason why I switched to Reinhardt here is because Orisa kind of got countered. She's very strong against uncoordinated teams, but when it comes to a team that is pushing together, she's very immovable, and she can't move her shield very well. So if she puts down a shield the enemy team can just walk right through it and put down damage. And I kind of recognized that right away because their Reinhardt came through. He used his ultimate. We all died, and it was mainly because I was playing the wrong hero. So I switched off to the Reinhardt, try to go counter Reinhardt, win the battle of ultimates.
Now, is this something that your teammates on this particular squad might also call out to help?
Yep.
To help have you pick a.
Yep. Yep. So a lot of times when I play in a team, it's a little bit more coordinated stuff. So you'll call out saying, so maybe I'll call like my off tank to switch off to a different off tank to help me out on a different map, or maybe call out like different healers who do different abilities to help out. So in this particular game, I was the one playing the wrong character, which lost the first 2 team fights, which is why I switched. So right now, I'm kind of just going to have a chess match with their Reinhardt player. And basically what I want to do is take space away from them and create space for our team to put damage in. Because if I'm just holding shield in the back, they're able to walk forward, put pressure on us. We can't really push pressure on them. But if I walk forward too fast, they'll just kill me right away. So I kind of have to be a little bit mindful about how aggressive I'm being versus how passive I'm being. So it's kind of finding that balance of what I can do. So right here we got 2 picks. I went a little bit too aggressive there in the Reinhardt. The Reinhardt pinned me. So he also has a pin, which does 250, I think actually 300 damage. So I'm a 500 health hero. 300 damage is a lot. And, you know, shit's just going crazy right now. We're trying to clean up the fight. And we end up stabilizing here. So we ended up stabilizing. We won that fight. And right here, I should be looking at taking a good position, and I'm not. I'm just sitting back at the cart still. So this is a mistake in my gameplay right here that I'm doing. I let my D.Va mech die. I let my D.Va die because I wasn't aggressive enough. They were able to use ultimates. They were able to clean up the fight. And they won that fight because I didn't push forward enough. I didn't create space for my team, and my team ended up being in a poor position because I was in a poor position. So now they're kind of just staggering us, which is pretty bad. So we have to do a full reset. We have to fall back and make sure that we can kind of have a regroup to recontest.
Okay, so when that flashes up like that, and there's like 3 fiery red ones on the top, those are now.
So that means that that's the players on their team that's on fire, which means those are the ones that are kind of doing well.
Okay.
So if you're on fire, that means that you like made like a pretty big play.
All right.
So what happened right here is my Anna nano boosted me. She probably did it a bit too early, and right there, that was my ultimate right there. I just won the fight. So I used my hammer down. I got 3 of them in it. My DPS players were able to kill them because I stunned their whole team. So they were able to go aggressive on their players without the risk of taking damage because the enemy team couldn't put damage in, they couldn't move, and we ended up winning that fight. So right now I'm just trying to create space. So I did it there. So Ryan's pin that he has if two Reinhardts pin at each other, they both get knocked onto the ground. So what I did right there is kind of a technique where if they're charging at me and I'm in a good position, I'll just counter pin. Our DPS, I call it out, I say Reinhardt on the ground. Our DPS are able to hit their Reinhardt because they're immobile. But that also means that I'm at risk getting hit too, so I have to call that out. So they use ultimates. They won that fight. I get wrecked right here. Bad staggered. And now we're kind of just trying to waste time for them. As much time as we can. So right here, I use my hammer down to try to relieve damage coming in. Unfortunately, they had the man advantage. They were able to push the whole way through. So they actually won that first attack. Yeah, I'm usually what happens whenever you have something bad happens, you kind of blame somebody. It's a pretty toxic thing to do, but our other teammates were blaming this guy for not communicating. He's the only one not communicating on this team. I'll cut this part. I'll cut that part of viewing his profile out of the video for obvious reasons. I'm not trying to put toxic stuff on YouTube. So now we're on attack. So this guy wants a mercy
You
fire.
have a different group of people coming in right now. Is that
So same group of people, but now we have to attack with faster time than the enemy team just did on us. So they have 3 points, and now it's our turn to attack. So since they got to the third checkpoint, they have 3 points. If we don't get to the third checkpoint before time is up, then we lose. If we get to the third checkpoint with time on the clock, then we reset it and we get another attack. Each team gets another attack. Yep, I'm being toxic for no reason at all. I should not be doing this. Yeah, so now we're kind of saying, all right, this guy's not communicating. Let's just help him out, right? Let's kind of baby him, right? All right. So now I'm trying to walk forward, trying not to walk forward too fast and get killed, but I'm trying to walk forward fast enough that we can put damage in. Right here, I'm really not doing anything. I kind of just stood there, got bursted down, and died. I really had no plan at all. So a good strategy might have been to call out to go rotate around the back, maybe attack from the back of the point, try a different point of attack, and we kind of just stood there. I kind of just stood there waiting for my DPS to kill somebody, and we didn't. It's not a very good strategy. So we're going to regroup, we're going to go in again. So at this point, the strategy is going to be build our support ults, because when you have support ults, it kind of makes you more durable to enemy attack. I don't know why this froze. So it makes you more durable to enemy attacks, which allows you to go really aggressive for that point of attack. So, all right, we get a pick on one of the players that overextended. He kind of threw that. We had the support ult, so I went in. I went in aggressive. I got in their face. I took damage off their team. And right now we're up. We're just trying to clean up the fight. Missed that pin. It's unfortunate. And kind of just use my ultimate to secure that fight. So my ultimate there probably wasn't needed, but it was a close fight. I just wanted to secure the fight. I wanted to get the kill on their hero. The character I actually killed with it was one of the win conditions for us. If we killed that guy on their team, it makes it a lot more easier because it's a lot of healing that's off their team. So. Alright, so we end up getting a kill on their healer, which means that we can actually go aggressive. So I should be up in their face right now. And that's what I do right here. I get up in their face. So now the enemy team's going to be coming through that door. Most likely they're coming through that door. There's also another way that they can go to the left, and then also to the right there's another way. They usually come through that door. So I'm kind of just going to hold my shield on the payload, create some space. Once again, my team won that fight. I didn't. This is a good counter pin for me. And I used my ultimate and we clean up the fight with that ultimate. So my ultimate's really good when they get aggressive on us. So if their team gets really aggressive in our face, this is crap. Now I know why people use YouTube. So if they get aggressive in our face, I use my ultimate, it kind of stops them in their tracks, and we can clean up. But that also means that if I get aggressive on them, they can use their ultimates the same exact way. So I kind of have to balance that in terms of...
And you can only have one ultimate per squad at one time.
So each character builds up their ultimate. You'll see in the bottom middle. You have ultimate percentage, and it's based on how much damage you do. Okay. And then when you use it, it goes back to 0. So it kind of has a passive generation, and then when you put damage in, you get extra charge on top of that. So right now, the pro game is kind of based around building up ultimates, rotating your ultimate, saying, all right, let's have this character use this ultimate to win this fight, and while they use that ultimate, let's have this character build up theirs, so that next fight we use this ultimate to win the fight while they build up theirs. So it's kind of rotating through the ultimate usage. And that's kind of how the pro game goes, and having good ultimate economy is really important. So I probably did not need to use that because we already had 2 picks there, but I knew that they had ultimates, so I knew their Reinhardt had his ultimate because he hadn't used it in a while, and I think their Lucio had his ultimate, which is a pretty powerful ultimate. So I kind of just used it, saying, I want to win this fight, I want to get to the checkpoint. I don't care if I don't have my ultimate, I just want to get to the checkpoint, because when you get to the checkpoint, you have close response. So that was kind of my thought process there, win this fight, get to the checkpoint, then build them back up again. So going to this next fight, I know that their Reinhardt's going to have his ultimate, so it's going to be on me to block it. And basically, Reinhardt Shatter doesn't go through shield. So if I hold my shield and he uses ultimate, it'll block it and it won't do any damage. So I called out they have a sonic error, which means that one of their abilities allows them to see through walls. So I called that out. Our Zen didn't listen. He got sniped in the face and died. So right here, I'm just using my Fire Strike ability. So I'm just trying to put damage into them, build my ultimate back up. I'm at 20% right now. Alright, they got a pick. So this is where we reset, we back up, and try to get out of here. So I didn't get out of there fast enough. I actually died 15 seconds after the first death happened on our team, which means that's 15 seconds wasted on our regroup that should not have happened if I had just turned around and ran away. So alright, so right here, I know their Reinhardt has his ultimate, so I should try to block it. And what I did right there is one of the worst mistakes you can do with Reinhardt in that type of situation. So I knew their Reinhardt had his ultimate. My role on this fight is to block their ultimate first, and I Fire Striked into the Reinhardt, and because that animation from the Reinhardt Fire Strike, he was allowed to use his ultimate and basically stun our whole team because of that. Now, my team, I think, end up actually capitalizing on this. We use a counter ult to kind of relieve some pressure from us. We turn out okay, but I should not have done that in that spot. That was a very, very bad mistake on my part. So, so right here, as soon as I did my Fire Strike, their Reinhardt used his ultimate and stunned us all. So I ended up getting my ultimate in. We got 2 from it, which is pretty good. And now we're just going to clean up base. And I get outplayed right here. Very bad. So the McCree, one of their DPS heroes, has a stun ability. And they use that stun ability, and the other hero uses ultimate, which is that dragon. And pretty much I got completely wrecked there. That was pretty bad destruction. So right here, I should have called for a regroup. I'm kind of not doing anything back here. We have three characters in front of me. I'm the front line character. I need to be up in the front. I should have just called for a full regroup. I should have been yelling into the mic saying regroup. I wasn't. And we ended up losing about 15 to 20 seconds there. So, right here, I'm just trying to do what's called like a shield hop forward. I'm trying to preserve my shield a little bit while getting to their face. Something weird happens there that, no idea, but I think I got booped up into the air as I pinned. And right there, I could have counter-charged their run and stunned them. That would have been the better move. That was a good ultimate. Stop there. McCree ult. And we end up just cleaning up the place. So,
and what are you looking for in keeping their players separate from your players?
So mainly it's about so different characters have different roles. So if you see an opportunity where a character is out of position, you call that out, and you have characters on your team that can take advantage of that. So, my objective in that fight is kind of just keeping their front line in check. So if their front line kind of pushes past us, they're able to put a whole bunch of damage in, and if our back line dies, if that means there's nothing healing us, which means that we die then shortly after. So if our front line dies, so if I die first in a team fight, then that means that there's nothing protecting the back line, which means that they die shortly after. So it's kind of figuring out where you can use your abilities to get the maximum amount of like effectiveness out of them. So being able to burst down maybe their enemy front line to make them play a little bit less aggressive on me. So using like a fire strike into hammer like melee combo, that's 225 damage right there. That means that their Reinhardt has to play a little bit closer back, which allows us to play more aggressive, gives us more space, gives us more angles of attack. So that's kind of the whole thing. That whole charge thing that happened, you saw me go flying up through the air. I didn't try for that to happen. I charged the Reinhardt. I was trying to put damage into the Reinhardt. I saw an opportunity where our team could go aggressive. I saw an opportunity that I can put 300 burst damage into their main tank hero, and I ended up getting actually booped up into the air. So I got thrown up into the air with the pin, which actually turned out to be good for us because as the attackers, we were able to go in then and clean up the fight because their main tank wasn't there. So being the aggressors, it's all about keeping their protection. It's about getting rid of their protection so that we can kill their backline. Whereas being the defenders, when you're defending the payload, you have to be the one kind of protecting your backline, keeping your team up. So that's kind of what I was looking for there in terms of that fight. And we ended up actually pushing it. We had about, well, we'll see. I think we had 20 less seconds on the clock after the end of this push. So yeah, we have a minute remaining. They had 1:15 remaining. That 15 seconds could have been saved in different opportunities that I told you about. So they actually have a 15-second advantage because of different stagger opportunities that we could have been more efficient on. So now that this is our third kind of point with this team, now we're starting to synergize a little bit more. So you'll see on this attack, we actually have a really good attack, and I make a pretty good call out, and we ended up being able to capitalize on that. So I'll show you.
So how many different versions of these location maps do you?
I'm not too sure about the
number.
number.
Does it go from one to the next, so you have an idea which one's coming? Because that looks like that's the confusing part of.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of different maps,
where
and
they're coming from. And
that is the hardest part to learn about the game, probably. Well, that, and there's like 29 heroes, so being able to figure out like what different abilities do in the heroes is very hard, and then also like learning the different maps is pretty hard. So right here, we call it. This is what we showed on the first push. We call it a rotate around back, right? Now I call right out here, I say, yo, do you want to bait them and go back down center? Right? So they think we're coming back down this way. We're actually, we turn around, we go back down through the center. And which means that I can be aggressive, and me going into there allows for our whole team to go in because their team turned to come kill me. So I kind of just threw myself into the fight, kind of threw myself in there. They all turned on me, and when they turned on me, my whole team went in. So we kind of just outthought them on that fight. We kind of outthought them on that fight with the rotation of that map. So I was pretty happy with this play. So now I'm being aggressive. I'm getting right in their face. It's overtime, and I don't want this fight to even happen before their sixth player gets back. I messed that up. I should have done that about a second sooner because there's a combo. And right there, we died I died because I wasn't using good shield management. So I kind of let my shield get down to 0, I let my shield break, and because my shield break, there's nothing protecting me. And they ended up winning this fight. So now we're on defense for this last push, and if they push it farther than we did on this defense, they win, and if we're able to stop them, then we'll win. So they have 1 minute and 15 seconds to push it as far as we did in 1 minute. So they're being toxic about one of the players on our team that's not communicating. So probably the biggest thing about this game is communication, because it was made for like a competitive 6v6 game. It wasn't made for, you know, solo carry potential. It was made to kind of play with your team. So on this last defense, I think we're going to hold high ground here, and this last defense right here is a play that happened is the reason why I chose this game as the game that I want to show. So something. So I'm just going to hold up here. I'm going to give our DPS character a shield so he doesn't take damage. He put damage in. We have a support with me. Alright, so right here. So you hear that? This is bad. This is really bad. This should be pausing. Alright, so in that play, somebody on our team called drop down, right? Now, they meant to drop down right here where I am. Instead, I dropped down right in the middle of them. That's not good to be in the middle of their team. So usually, that would be, this was a nice shatter, and up winning the fight because of that. So usually, dropping down in the center of the fight, I would have died, our team would have died, and we would have lost that fight. So that's the end of the VOD. So that last fight where I dropped down, usually I would have died, which meant that our team would have died and we would have lost that fight. Now, what happened in that fight was when I dropped down and my team saw that mistake, they all played stupid with me, right? So even though that wasn't the optimal strategy to drop down there, since 6 players played the stupid strategy, it was better than 1 player playing the stupid strategy and 5 playing the smart strategy. So I always listen to a bunch of like coaches say that, right? So I watch like videos and stuff like that. I always listen to like big like pro players say like, you know, you gotta play stupid together to win. I don't really like this was kind of the epitome of that, which is kind of why after this game I was like, you know, I want to do a review of this to be like, I understand, like, so this kind of showed me like I made the stupid decision to drop down, but because everybody made the stupid decision to drop down, we ended up winning that fight and ended up winning the game because of that. So I dropped down, stupid decision. They should have killed me, but my team came in to protect me. I actually built my ultimate up because of that. Because I was in the middle of them, I was able to build my ultimate up to a point where I could end up winning the fight on their last push with my ultimate, which I ended up doing. So,
Very interesting game.
is there any questions that you have about the flow of it, or?
No, it just, you know, my particular gaming abilities, it still looks like it goes
Yeah.
awfully fast in trying to
Yeah.
identify
It is a
you know,
very,
who-
very fast game.
who is, who is the different characters that you're trying to eliminate, but
It is a very fast
You
game.
know,
There's a lot to it.
and yeah, that's my first impression is, you know, you have to, you know, play a number of times just to get acclimated on the different scenery and the different, you
Yeah.
know, different objects. As long as it looks like you have the ability to have some, you know, individuals coaching you along the way, it looks like it's a, you know, it's a learning thing. It looks like it also be very frustrating. So,
Yeah. So we were kind of lucky in terms of this game to what the enemy was playing, because there are some really frustrating heroes to play against. We were lucky that
And
they
that's the other
weren't
part, too.
playing
I mean,
against those characters
I mean,
in that game.
Before you start in your battles, I mean, does this game have a, you know, tutorial type of
Yep,
thing here?
so-
So you learn all the different characters.
So there's
you learn
kind
what
of
their
a
abilities are. I mean, how do you do that without just getting in and playing and seeing it for yourself?
So there's a practice range that you can run around, and there's like training bots and everything that you can
Okay,
use your different
alright.
abilities on.
That sounds like that would be
Um,
necessary.
There is a tutorial, but that only shows one video, but it shows you like how to use like your abilities,
Mhm.
and then in order to play competitive, you have to rank up 25 levels through playing quick play, and that's kind of your initial like getting used to it. So it's probably about 3 hours that you have to put in before you can play in the competitive scene.
And is this nothing more than game controller?
Yep. So this is on the PS4. There's not really that big of a pro scene for controllers,
Okay.
as in mouse and keyboard. So the Overwatch League, all those pro players are playing on mouse and keyboard because, of course, like your efficiency to aim on a keyboard using your wrist
Mm-hmm.
is a lot more precise as using your thumbs on a controller. But you know,
Okay.
those gaming PCs cost quite a bit. That you have to have one good PC, you have to have two, a good Wi-Fi connection,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, why would I put that time into it? Like
Right.
I'm just playing for fun, trying to make cool videos on YouTube, you know.
Right.
But you know, so the level that I'm at, I'm about in the top 10%, I think, of controller players. So I'm high diamond. So the rankings goes like bronze is the lowest, and you have silver, gold, platinum, diamond, master, grandmaster. So I'm right on the verge of diamond and master. So there were actually 3 people on my team in that game that were in master, and I'm in diamond. Um, so it was a pretty, as this is the next step up in terms of level. This was a pretty good game. I made some mistakes in terms of not taking space away from them in different situations. Made a pretty big error in terms of using Fire Strike, which has a long animation, into their Reinhardt that had his ultimate. That should have costed the fight, but it didn't, fortunately. I think our diva used her ultimate to create some space when that happened. So that was a pretty good play on her part. And then I made a mistake in terms of dropping down in the middle of them that last fight. That, fortunately we were able to overcome that because we had 6 people play stupid together. So that's kind of a big thing to preach, where communication in this game is, you could know nothing about the game, but you could never pick up the game at all. But if you know how all the characters flow and you know the communications of where you should be positioned, so knowing to get your damage dealers up in the high ground in safety, it's harder to get attacked when you're on the high ground versus the low ground. So knowing stuff like that, you can with communication you can do pretty well. So you don't have to have the highest tech skill. I feel like my reaction time is usually pretty good in terms of a Reinhardt v Reinhardt battle. There were a couple of situations where I could have had better reaction times to different plays that happened to me that would have edged the advantage further into my favor. There were a couple of situations where I played it pretty well. So, being able to look at a video like this, because playing in the heat of the game is a lot different than looking back in hindsight and saying, this is what I did. Like, when you're playing in the middle of a game, you think, like, if you win, like, you did all awesome, you didn't do anything wrong, but then you take a step back, and you kind of analyze it, saying, this fight we lost because of this. Maybe we should have been positioned like this before the fight even happened, and it could have given us a better favor.
Right, but the games don't give you that type of post
So
analyzation. So that's just flying by the seat of your pants and learning.
So the only thing the game really gives you is how much damage you did, and you have medals. So if you did the most amount of damage on your team, you get a gold medal. Now that's really flawed because the damage dealers on your team, the DPS players, usually have gold damage because
but
they're playing the
game
heroes.
Normally is set up that everybody's play level is kind of the same, right?
Right.
I mean, it'd be one thing if you were a mid-level player and everybody else on your team is a high-level player and they're coaching you right through the whole process. But if you're all on the same general level.
Right. Now, I do get into games where I'm the higher one ranked of the teams, and I pretty much just roll them the whole way through most of the time. And, I'll get into games like, so my roommate is ranked pretty low compared to where I'm ranked, so I'll get in and I'll play on my other account, which isn't ranked as high, and I'll play with him. And we'll do pretty well because I'm a higher ranked player playing against lower ranked players. Now we shouldn't be doing that, but pretty bad for the game. But you'll also see players that will just make random accounts and will de-rank them even though they're top 1% players, and just to mess up other games, and that's pretty annoying to play against too when
Right.
nobody on your team can deal with this one character. Um, but
Yeah.
but it is possible to play around it if you all deal with them together.
So what's becoming more popular, this type of game, or is the Fortnite still the?
So this game came out in 2016. Um, in terms of the pro scene, um, this is kind of. I feel like this is going to have a more sustained effect in terms of pro scene. Right now, Fortnite is still the most popular
Still
game.
the most popular.
Because of the ability to just pick it up and you can play it by yourself, or the ability to pick it up and play with your friends. So Fortnite, you can now play PlayStation with Xbox, which you couldn't do before in any other game. So that now has pushed Fortnite into a more popular echelon of games. So I personally, I like playing this game when I get really good games like this. I hate playing this game when I get really bad games where nobody's communicating and I'm kind of just standing out in the open and just playing by myself and not really communicating with the team. So the interesting part about this game is the 6v6 aspect of it, where you have 6 players playing as a group of 6 against another 6 players playing as a group of 6, which is why I actually started playing a couple weeks ago on a team, and we'll actually play what's called scrims, where we go in with a group of 6 players that we know communicate, that we know are decent, and that we know we can make different strategies with, and we play against a group of 6 players that we know are communicating, that we know are decent, and we
Yeah,
we see.
I can see that could be a lot more.
Yep, and that's a
advantageous for the
lot
game.
more entertaining to play. Now the unfortunate thing about this game is you have to have a pre-made contact to set up a scrim like that doesn't affect your rank. So, before you could make a group of 6 and you go into competitive and you'll play against a group of 6, but if you lose, that affects your rank. But the games that you're going to be playing against are harder. So you could get D-ranked by playing against really good groups of 6 teams over and over and over again and losing. You could be getting better, but your rank would have decreased, so then when you try to go and just play by yourself, you're playing against players that aren't as good as you, that don't have the experience as you, and playing with that is pretty annoying when you're playing at a really high level and you're trying to say like different strategies that your teammates have no clue what's going on.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that doesn't sound like that would be.
no. So,
Okay.
and in terms of the pro scene, I see this lasting longer. It won Game of the Year in 2016. It's died off a little bit. So I think what Fortnite's doing right now in terms of its marketing strategies and stuff is kind of pushing it forward. I don't see Fortnite really dropping off. This game won't be the one to take it over, of course. I think Fortnite actually took this game over in terms of popularity. I think
Yeah,
the
but to the
learning
average-
curve to this game is a lot harder, that it doesn't make it as easy to just step in and play it.
Right, but to the average gamer, won't they eventually get somewhat tired of the repetition of Fortnite and they're looking for something different to move?
Yes, so
With
they
their
will,
skills too,
they
so-
will, but the average gamer, they want to pick up a game and not just be overwhelmed with stuff. So, to somebody that never played this game before, it gets very overwhelming,
Mhm.
because there's so much stuff to it. There's 29 characters. They're working on the 30th. There's 4 different map types, and for each map type, there's 3 or 4 maps. I think there's about 15 maps total. And it can get very overwhelming to somebody who's never played it before in terms of the learning curve for it. Alright,
You're good.
so that'll wrap it up. Thank you for watching that. I hope you.
Yeah, very interesting things here.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought Fortnite was its own little challenge, but that one even to me seems a lot more complicated and a lot more.
Yeah, so Fortnite is really different in terms of the that first person shooter game. That first person shooter game that has a different element to it that makes it kind of unique in which you can build, right? But I mean, this game, like the synergy between the different characters makes it really unique in
Right.
terms. So it makes it more like a professional sport rather than a video game. But the singular skill cap of Fortnite is pretty high. But I think the group skill cap of working as a group together is through the roof in this game, and that's why it's so popular in the pro scene. All right, so that'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching that. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button down at the bottom. You can subscribe also. Go follow my Twitch account, Rise2TV. If you want to see more videos like this, leave a comment below saying nice video or something like that. I'm not a professional gamer, but I play for fun, and I feel like I have a pretty deep mind when it comes to strategies and stuff like that in terms of different games like chess and stuff like that. And I feel like the chess match in this game is pretty interesting. That's the reason why I play. So.